Good to see you.
Just got off work.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March meeting. I'm going to open our meeting at 7 o'clock. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you for being here. Great to have you this evening. Beautiful day in Coquille. I just got, I think, one thing in particular. Coquille River Days is starting into full planning. And just so you're all aware, in service of the Coquille Valley Chamber, I volunteered to be the lead coordinator for the event. And so I will be working as the lead coordinator. So it's good. I'm looking forward to that. I've been helping with the event on and off pretty heavily for the last, I think, 4 years. So I'm looking forward to that already. I've been emailing businesses. I just want to give a shout out to First Community Credit Union. They're our event sponsor again this year, and that's a big deal. Our main sponsor, First Community Credit Union Insurance, is a main sponsor as well for some of our entertainment. So I've notified some businesses to kind of prime the pump, and over the next 2 weeks, you'll see more and more developing as the plans come together. So just appreciate our community, again, all the support for it, and we're looking forward to a huge event again this year. And that is June 5th and 6th. June 5th and 6th, Coquille River Days. All right. Councilor Frazier.
I don't think I have anything other than congratulations on your promotion.
All right. Councilor Corvus.
I have nothing to add.
Councilor Westrom.
Just a couple things. Congratulations, Liz, on your promotion, and I'd like to thank all department heads for getting their reports in on time. It's nice to have it all in a packet instead of running into something last minute. So thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Councilor Cooper.
No problem.
Councilor Flynn.
No additional comments.
All right, here we go. Moving right along. We are now agenda item number 5, consent.
Move to approve the consent calendar of February 2nd, 2026.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilor Westrom to approve consent calendars.
Seconded by Councilor Frazier.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous list. Thank you. All right. We're going to go on now to staff reports. Mr. Norberg, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. A couple of interesting things, I suppose. Actually, I reported about the ambulance billing service status, and we're actually going to have that meeting this Thursday. It got postponed by the consultant, so we'll get caught up with that. Got a couple of things in my report, basically, for the URA, both Theater Lot and the First National Bank Bark project. And we are currently, the city is advertising for a finance director, so that you don't have to hear me give that report anymore, at some point anyway. And that's about all I've got, unless you guys got any questions.
Move right on to the finance report.
Well, one update on the finance report, we did actually receive the check from the rural fire today. So it's not showing up in that report, obviously, but that will help with the balance sheet for the fire department. We appreciate that check very much. I think it got lost in translation for a few weeks, but in any case, we've got it, so that's very good. If you've got any questions on finance report, I'm happy to answer those.
I do. Just refresh my memory on the police department and their expenditure. They're just one line item as opposed to every other department that has their disbursements with, such as, where did I write it down? Personnel, material outlays, capital outlay.
Okay. Sorry. So they are part of the general fund, Counselor. So if you notice all of those items. You got policy and legislation, sports service, police department, planning, code enforcement, parks, recreation, community service, and transfers. Those are all expenditures from the general fund. So we don't, I mean, I can break those out if you'd like to see those in the future, but that's why those are just a single line item of, because they're all expenditure rather than revenue accounts.
But to Councilor Western's point, when the budget's created, it is broken out into different types
yeah.
of personnel. So that is available whenever we need it, if anybody needs to ask for that. It's certainly available.
If anybody needs to see a particular department, I can make that for them anytime.
You answered my question with 2 words, general fund. Oh, yeah, I do. There's another one in here somewhere. In the, I may have to defer because I just made a note, but I didn't. Never mind.
Okay.
I know there's a question on it. Come to me as soon as we move on.
Other questions? We are now going to move on to our fire and EMS. Chief Latimer.
I have nothing to add, but I can answer any questions.
Great job on the pancake breakfast, and was able to go. And I was talking to one of your firefighters, but I think just about everything was donated, right? All the supply.
Yeah.
100% of the proceeds.
The only thing, I mean, we were down on numbers this year compared to last year, but other than that, everything was donated. So I think the grand total was like $1,546 going to the burn center. So $1,500. So we appreciate all you guys coming out and eating breakfast.
I'll just comment that I like seeing that SWAC opportunities there. I know we don't have the opportunity for sleepers like some other departments do, but it seems like that one's at least a opportunity to have more staff here and cutting their teeth and possibly be in a pipeline to become full-time.
Yeah, and just a shout out to all your sponsors and supporters. It's a big deal. And so obviously if people still want to donate, they can. Just drop by the fire department and let them know at the center, and they'll take care of that. All right, we're going to move on. Fire and code enforcement, Mr. Wells.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Nothing to add, so we have to answer any questions.
We're moving on, thank you. And now our planning department, Haley Sheldon's here.
Hello, council. I have nothing to add to my report. Let me know if you have any questions. I do. There is one note in the report that said that we would hear back from the Community Development Block Grant folks by now. We didn't. They had to push their deadline. We expect to hear back from them in very soon.
I thought it was last week.
It was last week when so we still don't know.
Thank you. That was my only, I was like, oh, have you heard yet? So.
Was that the one in your first paragraph on the grants, the February 24th one?
Yes, that's the big one we've been waiting for, and it's federal funding from Housing and Urban Development HUD. So there's some issues that are big macro issues at the federal level that are affecting the funding getting down to the state, which is affecting it getting to us. But we're going to hear if we got it or not, and I think that should be happening any minute now.
On to Public Works, Mr. Denny.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, mentioned in my report, but I wanted to welcome Melissa Dreschel, our 2026 pool manager. Believe it or not, she gets going tomorrow. So pool season will be here before you know it. Also want to welcome Corey Franzen, is our new park host out at Sturdivant. He'll be out there with his fiancee Taylor and their little pug Mello. He says he loves meeting people, so he'll stop by and say hello. And then also just a brief update, although I mentioned it in my report on our lighting upgrades at the sewer and water plant and the public works shop. We got the estimates today, the energy savings estimates, as well as the agreements which we signed and sent back, at least for the sewer plant and for the public works shop, and they're estimating $6,000 in savings annually, energy at today's rates at the sewer plant, and close to $2,000 at the public works shop, which will, will probably cut the bill in half at least at the public works shop. Not so much at the sewer plant, but every little bit helps out there. We spend a lot on electricity there. Still waiting on the water plant estimates, but I hope to get those in the next day or so. So the final step is, final acceptance into their program, and then we just turn it over to them, and within about a month and a half, they'll come and upgrade our lights. And I wanted to double check on those numbers to see if they were real, and went and looked at the community building. And as far as I can tell, we're saving probably at least $15,000 a year after that lighting upgrade at the community building, which is fantastic. Again, we cut the bill by more than in half at the community building. So I did get this program. It's called the Small Business Lighting Program, and I did get them in touch with the chamber via email, and hopefully they'll connect with you, because I encourage every small business to look at this and try and take advantage of it in our area.
Yeah, and I just got a flurry of emails today. So, but as mayor, but connected to chamber too. And I guess the main alert for a lot of our small businesses is legitimate. Energy Trust is coming through our city right now. And so I got a call as part of my facility at the church there, and we've already converted and already been saving money for the last 3 years. But it is a great program. So again, if you're a small business, or I think it's based on square footage and 20 employees or less, and if you're manufacturing, that number goes up a bit, but...
Right, yeah, under 20,000
Yeah.
square feet and less than 20 employees, and a single site, not a franchise or...
It is a legitimate engineered estimate for your facilities, and then programs and potential rebates.
And I want to thank Gary Daggett for following up on this as well. They approached him down at the plant. Gary's got a million things to do, but still took the time and followed up on it, and really appreciate that. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, thank you, Gary, and thank you, Mark, for, like you said, every little bit helps for sure, and so we're very appreciative of that. Like no more questions, but I just want to highlight, it's in your report, but Friends of the Riverwalk, just thank them, obviously, great job. And just the program, too, it's a big deal, and so thank you for all the efforts. All right, Director Lucas, you're up for...
I have nothing to add to my report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
There's a lot going on, and it's great to see.
Thank you.
Run a fantastic program.
Excuse me.
I dropped in, I think, a week or two ago, and it was just fun. After school, you had some young people upstairs doing some projects, and I love our library.
Thanks. Today I had 2 young boys come in, and they said, I asked them if they needed any help, and they said that they just moved, and that the bus was going to bring them every day. That's where they were going to hang out until their parents came and picked them up, so that was pretty cool. They kept bothering me. knock, knock, knock. Can I play with those little things up there? Can I touch those books?
All right, thank you, Director Lucas. Chief Doyle. Okay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to add to my report. I'll do my best to answer any questions that the council may have.
You filled your vacancy, or you hope you filled your vacancy?
We believe we have it filled, yes.
Little word of advice, buy some extra cords for the mobile charging for your new system.
Right.
They break pretty easy, so we're trying to catch up on ordering, so might get out ahead of that one.
I appreciate the heads up. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Special thanks to all your officers.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on now to our city recorder and HR. Congratulations, Liz. Anything you want to add to the report?
Just kind of remind people about the job fair on March 12th at the community building.
Yeah, what time is that again?
10 to 2.
Right, so on the microphone, for those who are online. Don't forget about the job fair at the community building, March 12th. What time again?
10 to 2.
10 to 2, which last year, was that the first time you'd run it last year, Liz? And we just had a phenomenal turnout. So is it too late for vendors?
Mm-mm.
So it's not too late, contact Liz or Elizabeth Kenny at City of Coquille.
That's right.
I was second guessing the last name, so it took me a minute. Great. Well, as part of Liz's report, Mark Denning is our Employee of the Month. Mark. So you know what? I feel like if somebody does a write-up, it should be read. I mean, why is this guy picked? You know. And so, Mark has many roles to fulfill as the Public Works Director, and despite the wide variety of responsibilities, he handles them all with knowledge and professionalism. He continues to do great work and be innovative for the city's operations. Mark was the catalyst for 100 Acre Wood and worked collaboratively with the designers, city planner Haley Sheldon, and other members of the team to obtain donations and huge grants from the state to get the system built. He has continued the strong effort towards recreation, helping to re-energize the Parks Committee, and his work with them led to committee members championing a new playground for Sturgeon Park. On the public works side, Mark always has an iron in the fire, be it the complex water projects being designed, operations and maintenance in the city's water and sewer services, streets repairs, and et cetera. Certainly worthy of Employee of the Month. So congratulations, Mark. You want a picture?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Okay. All right.
Just like,
Do I get a hand?
you want a handshake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be in late tomorrow.
Can I add one thing there? And he returns phone calls in a timely manner.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. All right, I think this time we move to public participation, and this is a time when if somebody is wishing to speak publicly, they can sign up.
Mr. Carlson is signed up.
All right, and so this is your opportunity to step up to the podium, Mr. Carlson. What's that?
My hips are killing me, I'm basically had surgery.
Oh, are they? Okay.
We can take a mic.
Yeah, you can take. We can bring a microphone. Well, it's for the online and for the record. For the record, we record as well. So, and just a reminder for everybody online as well, we can bring a microphone. And just a reminder for everybody and who's listening is allocate 3 minutes. And so for public participation, it's your 3 minutes to speak. And for this council and the mayor to listen, and certainly our staff is listening. I like to say we almost always follow up on comment. And so I want to thank Mr. Norberg for following up on last month's public comments. And so with that, we'll work on it here. Give us just a moment.
Well, that's okay, we'll get you.
I could move one of the mics from your table too. The cords are really long.
What's that?
The cords for those mics to the table are really long. You might be able to pull that over some.
Just popped out. Turn on. It's been a hot minute.
Believe it or not, first time, if we just go like this, down by it. It feels it'll pick you up.
Thank you very much, thank you. Well, first I want to thank Forrest for having his assistant return my call about the email I gave him. I don't know if you had a chance to convey that to anybody else, but over the burn barrel ban. And I had a speech wrote, but I figured, well, I'm just going to ask you guys, what's your opinion on it? Is it feasible, or is it something that we don't want to mess with?
So, Mr. Carlson, I mean, part of the reason for public comment is to limit our opinion and comment.
Oh, okay.
Make sure your voice is heard.
Right.
And then we follow up. So if Mr. Norberg's asked you for more information, that's so he can collect it, and then he presents it to the counselors. I will say typically he might send it via email and try to get a consensus. Is this something that hits the agenda?
Oh.
And then we move from there.
Okay.
So
he's got my email, so if you guys want to go ahead and look at it, and I'll come back next week, or next meeting, and see what you guys think.
So you sent something to Mr. Norberg?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll allow him to follow up again with you.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
No, because I was kind of waiting for that.
Oh, well, I'm sure I returned it, but
Okay.
anyway, I'll just get it next time, and we'll go next meeting.
Well, if you could resend that to me,
Yeah, I will.
because what I would normally do, if I can explain for a second, is get your email, you're citing some other places, and just do some research on that.
Okay.
And look at the state statute and all that, and then the council can discuss it.
Sure, no problem.
All right,
Well,
great.
thank you. Sorry, thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. And we'll move that so you can see over it.
No, that's fine. You were out of town. Your assistant did. I'll get it back to you.
I don't know. It just started rolling. So, right.
There we go. Thanks.
And just to read it again for the record, the reason we don't engage in comment or opinion during public participation is it's at risk of losing decorum. Also, it has the risk of marginalizing your voice during those 3 minutes. We don't want to do that, and so. All right, is anybody else signed up?
That was it, sir.
Ready. We are now at consider library board application. And so this is from Ms. Kay Marino for library board. And she's not here.
I've known Kay for years.
Yep.
Worked at the courthouse, and I think she'd be a great addition to the library board, so if we need a motion, I'll make a motion that we appoint Kay Marino to the Coke Hill Library Board.
Second.
Oh, he snuck in on you. All right, we got a motion by Councilor Frazier to approve Ms. Kay Marino for our library board vacancy, seconded by Councilor Westrom. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye, great. Thank you, Ms. Kay Marino, for doing that. Appreciate it, and love our public participation. Wow, that is it for that part of the agenda for this evening. And we have a good of the order. So, councilors, we have a meeting set up for March 16th. Can you remind me that time? Is it 6 o'clock or 7?
Sorry, generally we've done it at 6, but that's up to the council.
Like it's going to be 6 o'clock. So Mr. Norberg's going to be sending out an email to all of us. Just a reminder for those who might be new to the process. He'll give some instruction. We'll proffer to him some of our priority targets, and then we'll come together. Usually department heads are here for that as well. And it is a public meeting, so it's open for people to attend.
Sure.
Listen, for sure. And
But it's structured as a work session, so it's not a formal council meeting. And generally what we've done in the past is we put some stickies on the wall, we have lists of the goals, and then we all, council members get a chance to vote with, little stickies, and it's a good old time. So anyway, that will be the plan.
Mark, since we're already going to be here, do we want to see about maybe adjusting the Parks and Rec Committee meeting to 5 o'clock that day, ahead of that meeting?
Sure, what's the date on that one?
So our meeting will be Monday, the 16th, and then Tuesday, the 17th, we're going to have our Parks and Rec. So rather than 2 days in a row, do we see if everyone's available?
Yeah, you could poll the committee. I'd be fine with that, though.
First weekend in June. Thinking I need.
all right, seeing nothing else, I'm going to close our general session at 7:27. I'm going to turn it over to our URA president, Madam President Corbus. Can that meeting?
Good evening. Let's go ahead and call the meeting, the URA meeting to order at 7:27. First up is the consent calendar.
And I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
Perfect. Motion made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Perfect. Motion made by Member Flaherty and seconded by Member Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next up, the Old Theater parking lot.
Yeah, I believe that's me on this one. You get a much more polished one here after this. So as some of you, and actually as I look at the current configuration of the council, I realize that many of you have never seen the foundational study which the URA commissioned for where the old theater is. So Bill's Place, the old theater, so half the council's never seen it. Dave has, so a slight majority, but so I will get you all in the next couple of weeks kind of a summary. It's a big old engineering document with 4,000 pages of really long words. But I'll get you the executive summary so you can look at it. But basically what we were looking at is that particular building that we took down, if you all recall, the old theater was leaning a little bit. And that area there is very liquefaction soil rich. So they did a design for a foundation that goes down about 40 feet if you were going to do a multi-story building. But in any case, Councilor Westrom brought this matter back up. We kind of tabled it when we were looking at streetscapes things. In general, it was part of the Birch streetscape, but in any case, if the URA board is interested in pursuing this project, which honestly can be a parking lot, was one of the original discussions, then we can kind of dress some things up, and I'm going to look at, I don't think it was quite RFP ready for as far as getting somebody to build it, but we can certainly get that shaped up if that's your desire.
I drive by that, I walk by that 100 times a day. And it just seems like there's something that we can do. Now, obviously, building on it, I just think, as you mentioned, I just think that's just out of the realm of anyone's going to want to undertake that. There's 2 walls, and again, this is just something that I'm looking at. It's like, oh, there's 2 walls, we knock them down, we fill it, and we can have parking. Now, I might be totally wrong on that, but it just seems like we could do something there rather than just a big hole in the ground. It's just my thought.
Well, and I would agree with you, Counselor, we can definitely do something there. The walls are, to paraphrase our past engineers on the project, sketchy. So we would have to figure out how to do that, for sure.
Sure, and remember, we're in our URA now. We're all members.
Right.
Member Western. Actually, it was in January I was mentioning to Mr. Herbert, hey, let's bring this bank thing back. And so I love seeing this. I will agree, I drive by that all day long too, living down there. My wife, what is happening with that pit? And so, it's always the question. We had agreed months ago, maybe a couple years ago, to table it because of the different projects that were going on. It's a fair thing to bring back up, and I'm wondering, I think it is a little more complicated. It probably is an HDE. Okay, how do we design it so we have entrances and exits, and what does that look like? But I'm wondering, we'll have to get to that point where what will it cost to do this, kind of like we did at this point with the bank part. But I guess I'm going to proffer an idea, like if we could get it that far, maybe another idea is if we're willing to, I'm just going to make up a number, if we're willing to spend $500,000 out of the URA to put it into a parking lot, would we consider putting it out for RFP and incentivize $500,000 and get an actual building built there? So it's a building that is commercial and maybe even apartments upstairs. And so it's just thinking through that, like, the parking lot design could be the backup plan, but would this board maybe consider, building a functional building there actually would add tremendous value more than a parking lot. It wouldn't solve our parking issues downtown, but if we found a developer, when we had a developer visit the area when we did the Jefferson site and had a look at the GP site, they loved that site, the old bank building, or old theater, and they showed us, it was a developer out of Bend, Oregon, and they showed us buildings they've done that would be similar and fit that footprint. So anyways, that's just some ideas I'm getting at.
I'm just tired of looking at the hole in the ground.
But it'll still take time, even for us, if we decide, yeah, let's move towards something, it's gonna take time, and so we might as well. Anyways, those are just thoughts I've been having.
So would I take it as the board's pleasure for staff to dig this up, so to speak?
Well, we don't want to dig too deep because there's issues.
So my understanding off of that report is that it was actually going to be quite costly, right, to get it up to a standard.
Regardless, yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes, it is, because if it has to, if you build a parking lot and it has to meet structural standards, that's 40 feet of piers. That's where the liquefaction is, which I find so amazing that when we did the fire hall, they were talking about liquefaction soils, and then they came back and we didn't have to do all the stuff they said. But this one, yeah, because the engineers came and they did the boreholes and the whole thing, and they're like, this is what it is. So it's not an inexpensive option, but I think when we had them design it, there was really 2 thoughts. One, it could just be a parking lot, or 2, it could be a multi-story building. Slightly, obviously different foundations for that. But if it's to y'all's pleasure, I will kind of refamiliarize myself with the entire thing and then kind of put together a packet for you all to look at.
I think we need to do something with that hole in the ground, because A, it is ugly,
Yeah.
B, even though we've got a big fence around it, it's got to be a liability for us, potential liability for us. So I would think we'd want to do something, and even making it into a parking lot would solve all the problem with parking in the community center.
And we don't, and one other thing is we don't have a electric vehicle charging station in this town either. So,
Right.
I mean, there's, building on it, and I hope I'm not interrupting you, Paul, but building on it, building on it, I just think it's so cost prohibitive. And what's the difference between building on it versus just having cars parking on it? But again, I'm not an engineer, never claimed to be, and never will be one.
Well, I think the cost is definitely different, but if a developer is willing to entertain the idea and incentivize it, it's tax revenue for us.
Well, I
If
understand.
it's a parking lot, it's commercial space. We have no commercial space leasable right now. Obviously, if it's a multi-story with living space, it's hard to find living space right now. So, I'm just, not to stall it out, either option to me is a good option, but long-term, maybe a legit building there, if the developer's willing and we can incentivize it enough, might be a way to go.
Well, but I think to Jay's point, if it's something that we were to actually consider stabilizing and even flat topping it so that it could be parking space for now, as long as that's done in the proper order and with the proper coding for future building, then it's a 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like it solves that problem. It could also mitigate risk for somebody coming in wanting to do building on it, because it gets different if is it 3-story or is it higher than that, because that's when the type of framing that you need changes.
We have Stephanie here from HG. Would you please step up, Stephanie? Because we're speaking in some hypotheticals. She can address some of it. Because I'm assuming either way we go, maybe even tonight, I realize, first you said, yeah, I can pull some stuff together. But there could even be a consensus tonight that we could authorize Mr. Nordberg to engage HGE.
Well, and Mr. Reno, one of the things I would suggest in that concept, so technically the parking area was drawn as part of the Streetscapes project, which we are still engaged with HCA and Civil West, and Civil West did not do our engineering, but they're obviously very competent to do this. So I think if the URA board wanted to, we can engage them on looking at this. I mean, obviously the parking area is the simplest project, and I think cost-wise that may be there. But anyway, I'm neither an architect nor an engineer, so maybe that's a thing that if the URA board wants us to do, then we could start that process with them.
Well, you've been hearing us for a little bit, Stephanie.
I have been hearing you, so thank you for calling me up here. Some of you are new faces, so it's great to see you. I think HG and Civil West, as part of the Streetscapes design team, would love to help take that on. I'm sitting back there thinking like, oh, I wonder what this report actually looks like, because I don't know if I have a copy of that, or I may have just, it's been a long time, so I would like to refresh myself on what the structural, report says and what that looks like. But I think that what Member Corliss is saying about if we're going to fill it, it may cost, I'm just hypothetically, twice the amount to bring it up to a fill standard that you could put a structure on, but you have the potential of now building a structure. Somebody could build a structure on it. Whereas if you just filled it to a parking lot standard, you're missing the boat. So I think that's something that we would like to look at and consider after we review the report. And by all means, I can work with Mr. Norberg and come up with that executive summary and report back to you however you would like.
And something I agree. I mean, it's terrible. If we're going to look at those numbers and fill it to the standard of a parking lot, we could equally, though, take a look at incentivizing that same amount for just go all the way for a structure and just see if we get a bite. Is it in theory?
Well, and I do think, once they get to look at this, that was one of the concepts, was that you could do the parking lot and make the foundation so you could, easily expand it into a building in the future. And that was kind of a discussion that we were having with the developers that were here that showed us the building, oh, I got the great footprint for that. And you're like, oh, yeah. So anyway, I think those are, there was a discussion about subterranean parking with the first floor. Anyway, yeah, but the water issue is a little scary there. Anyway, but that's really up to you all to decide how you want to proceed.
How much longer until we have the reports back for the RFP lot? For the old,
For Lot 10,
yeah.
that was withdrawn. I think you were,
No, not on that one, like the geoteching and stuff.
are we talking about the GP lots, not Lot 10? Yeah, we got the report.
Okay, because I think, was there another step or two that we needed to do with that one before we knew? Just because I'm just thinking like bigger picture is that could be something that we add into a proposal like that.
Okay.
Or if there was something that, because if it's more opportunity for somebody to develop here, that's going to be more attractive. So it could, I think it's definitely worthwhile getting to understand what our options are and making decisions from there, but it could also be something that we pivot into as, if we bring in some other people or there's other areas around that we're able to pick up or decide that we want development on, you can package it together where it's like, we also want this one done too.
Right, and so on that report, which I haven't shared with the council, I just got it and read it. But essentially, those GP lots are now ready for development as far as DEQ is concerned. There's just, the developer would have to sign some, there's some mitigation items, right? So you can't use groundwater down there, right? Even though there's nothing found negative really in the groundwater, but there's that concern, and we have a hard dirt cap, which you can't really over-penetrate when you develop, but they're all very standard things for redevelopment of a former lumber mill. And, DEQ's like, yeah, you can definitely do that. Our basically environmental engineers, yeah, everybody agrees that we can develop on that. It's just, part of the known thing is that report. So a developer would have to deal with that.
If I remember right, I remember we talked about we're probably 3 years out for the GP sites. Because besides the DEQ report that we were waiting for, wasn't there some zoning things and some things through planning that we needed to kind of clean up?
Yes.
We'll be able to do some things we think we might want to do down there. So.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's some things we need to do as far as zoning goes, and there's a good handle on that, so we could bring that back up to the forefront again. Yeah, but that only may be a year, as far as now that we've got all that environmental work done, that was one of our 3 years, I think.
I have a question on that. Was it deemed a brownfield site?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's actually, so we did the initial soil testing and did water testing, soil testing, we did air testing, all that stuff, and essentially it's developable like it is with some restraint.
And we can talk about this afterwards, but are the restraints, when you bring utilities into a developed lot, is it trenching? Are they allowed to just trench but not open up too much of those trenching?
Yeah, I'll get you that report as well.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
So I was posing a question to Madam President. Do we just? I mean, staff still needs to know what the consensus is. Members but does waiting a year stall out the parking lot, or do we treat them as two separate things and go ahead and because the parking lot's ready? I mean, to start diving in.
Well, I think Member Flaherty, how's that, Commissioner Flaherty? I don't know what that is. We can run them. We can start them both right now, and we may find that the GPs lag or not. But I think if it's your pleasure, we'll get this to Stephanie and Sunny West, and then we can kind of, like, by the next meeting, can say, okay, well, you know, the theater one's really fairly simple-ish, and the GP is not as simple. But, you know, that doesn't mean that they can be combined or not, but I think in order to move forward, we have to move forward.
I think that we need to get some information definitely on the old theater, maybe both options if we want to consider what it would look like as just a parking lot. I personally think it'd be better stewardship to ensure that that foundation is solid so that it could be versatile into other things. That's where my preference would be, but yeah, I like the idea of it. I think knowledge is power, and getting more of that knowledge would help us make the best decision.
And it wouldn't make sense to do the bare minimum to get a parking lot and then a developer have to tear up that, like, we're at least investing in the right direction no matter what.
And that was one of the major features of the design that was adaptable. Like, if you built it this way, then you can build it up. So,
I always want something to happen.
I agree with you.
I don't know about the other members, but I personally love your idea, Forrest, about, you know, it doesn't mean it's all in depth, but coming next month with, hey, here's what we think about these two, and I agree with many of them. I think just, okay, we're going to start moving on these.
yeah, so I think we can make it so. If I'm seeing nods by the board, is that, okay, we will do it. We'll get it going.
Great, thank you.
I will talk to you later this week.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Stephanie, for being up here. Next up is going to be the First National Bank Park.
Before Stephanie dives right in, just a reminder, and maybe for our new members, you know, obviously that building had a tragic hit structurally, down, previously owned by Paul Reckenzone. And during that whole process, he and I had stayed in regular communication. I just wanted to know what was going to happen there. And so, and Paul wasn't sure, and we had a great dialogue together, and I wanted him to know that the city at the time was interested. I think we bought the theater building first.
We did.
So at that time, the URA was very active in wanting to address some of these issues in our city. And I told him, I think the city would be interested in wanting to secure its future, because that's a very important corner on Central, on First Street. And I didn't know at the time, he was like, I don't know if it turns into this, you know, he left that doorway, it's become this monument. Now everybody takes pictures there and likes seeing it. And so then we started having conversations about, well, what would that look like to be a pocket park, like kind of inner city park, not a kid's park. This is more like adult space park downtown. So that's kind of how that, so we ended up buying from Mr. Reckenzone, I think it was about $55,000 was the market value of that property. And just so that all of you all remember for the conversation, you know, the original foundations were never dug out, so some of those original foundations are still there. That lot was filled with gravel, so it was filled with gravel.
Right.
So, and that's where we're at. And so I've been concerned, honestly, for the last couple of years, continuing to see the brick wall deteriorate, especially that door archway deteriorate with the weather. And then HD did a great job coming up with a design. And so that's why I asked for it to come back. And so I thought I'd jump in right there, give a little bit of background, and then step.
Can I add one other thing that I just wanted to, I should have started with this, apologies. Just in the ballpark realm of finance, just to point out that the URA has 4 urban renewal agency projects unallocated, because remember we worked on community center roof, a couple of things, but you have 2.230 or $2,230,000 of available unallocated funds. So they're budgeted for urban renewal agency projects, but we don't have projects tied to those. So that was just something that I wanted to point out to you.
And on the, so roughly how much, I know there's different projects, come and go, but roughly, so holding aside the expenditures, how much comes in every year?
So about 600,000, the actual taxes budgeted was 560, and we're a little under that. Then you get your lag taxes, which were $159,000 this year. So you have just over $600,000, and I think that that's trending that way. So about $600,000 a year.
Thank you.
Sorry. Just want to throw that out there.
Perfect. Okay, are you ready for me?
I am.
Okay, great. So, thank you for inviting me back to talk about this project. I think we tabled it last year about this same time. So, coming back is great. Included in your packet, you'll see a very rough rendering of what it could possibly look like, and that was just playing around with some mural ideas. The murals are obviously not set in stone. That's something that you all would work with an artist on and coming up with what you want that to look like. But at the time, we were talking about having a mural that kind of talks about the overall history of Coquille, and so just with images. And so that's what you're looking at. We also have this concept of having a slightly elevated stage area, so we could have some small bands. Just on that same note, I am currently doing a project, a public project with the city of North Bend. The North Bend, they're calling it the T-Mobile Plaza and Hub because they were awarded a grant by T-Mobile, but it has a very similar size of a stage, and that's under construction. We're breaking ground this week. So it's very doable to be able to put a small little band and a stage inside a tiny pocket park within your downtown area. The next concept plan is the colorful one that is not the engineer drawings. It kind of shows you the layout of all of what's happening in there. And just for a refresher, we're keeping the arch. That arch will structurally need to be kind of modified to make sure that it's sound. And then adding a short, like 18-inch high, that's what we call a seat wall, around the perimeter with key openings. And that seat wall is so when a concert is happening or an event is happening up on that stage, then people can sit along the wall, they can sit within the little plaza itself. And then along the face of the existing brick building, that's where the stage would be, so that mural would become the backdrop of the park itself. Because of the nature of its location and the structural fill that was put in to fill the foundation after the building was removed, we're proposing using a synthetic turf instead of natural grass. That will keep maintenance down for the Parks Department. You're not going to have water. You're not going to have any of that stuff happening. Synthetic turf has come a long way. Don't think of it as like athletic turf fields. That's not what it looks like. It actually looks and feels like natural grass. It still remains cool and is UV protected, so it won't, bleach out in years to come. And it has a pretty good long lifespan. They make it in all realms of cost, from very low end to very high end turfs, turf grass, synthetic turf grass. I've picked kind of a middle of the road for the cost estimate that you'll see in the project. The other thing is that we would be putting in recessed electrical junction boxes so that if you wanted to have a food truck come in, there's an alleyway that we need to leave vacant or open between that and the adjacent Sentinel building. And so, but there would be some recessed junction boxes so you'd be able to pull right in, and then they'd be able to hook up for electrical for a food truck if you wanted to have a food truck in there. And then off to the corner is what we were proposing is 2 single-user stall restroom structure with a little storage space. That storage space could be chairs, event chairs or something of that nature, or just typical general storage that maybe the Parks or Public Works Department needs to keep in there to maintain this little urban park. The lighting that would happen in there would be the same pedestrian scale lighting that we're proposing through the rest of the streetscapes, so it would match what we're proposing on doing throughout the streetscape, and it would really blend in with what we're proposing on doing throughout the streetscape project. Does anybody have any questions right now before I keep going? Okay, so the rest of your packet are some engineer drawings. So the last time I was here, I was given direction to take this to a 75% construction document set and come back to you with a 75% construction document set and a preliminary cost estimate of kind of what, with all these improvements, of what we think that might look like. So included in your packet is that very engineered set of drawings. That does not include the architectural drawings of, the seat wall, the stage, some of the finishes, any specifications. All that kind of comes on the tail end when we're building a construction document set. And then I think you still have in your packet, or included in your packet, is the cost estimate. And so if everybody wants to kind of turn to that cost estimate. You can see the first couple items are just kind of like what we call like our overhead, the general mobilization, construction facilities and temporary controls. That means like if they needed a little job shack there, they need a porta potty, those type of things. It's like the overhead of actually doing construction, and then just site demo and prep. And then the main site improvements are listed 4 through 25. As you can see, they kind of start adding up as we go. I mean, it's not an inexpensive project by any means, but the first several line items are just basically like the utilities and the cost of the utilities to get the services into the site now. Because when that building was removed, those utilities were capped. And so we need to bring those utilities back into the site. And then items 12 through, kind of 21 are kind of like those architectural things, site improvements that we were talking about. Item number 22 is this arched light structure above the stage. After doing another stage project, I'm not certain you will need that. So that can kind of be a number that we can play around with on the cost estimate. And maybe that number can go toward like a mural or the prep of the surface of that brick building to restore it, to bring it up to a level where you can put a mural on it. The next item is a prefabricated restroom with the foundation, so it's like a complete kit. And Mr. Denning is really familiar with those kits. And so what we would propose is we work with Mr. Denning and we kind of shop around and figure out what's going to fit, what's aesthetically going to look really good and fit that streetscape theme that we're going for in Coquille. And then this is kind of like a ballpark estimate, and again, this is an estimate that I've used on a very recent project, so it's right around this number, and that's probably the size that we need to stick with, that square footage of anyway for the building. Nothing else bigger is going to fit on that site. You have anybody questions so far?
I was just going to make a comment that I think that's a great location to have a bathroom for public use to alleviate the stress on the local businesses with everybody popping in, hey, do you have a bathroom? Hey, do you have a bathroom? And they're like, no, community building or maybe the bakery. And but it would give them some place to know that they could go to that location as their
Absolutely.
shop.
It's a very centralized location, and then, as people are passing through town, being able to, and it's a very iconic spot, right? So if we keep the arch, that photo op, now they can pull over, they can park, maybe in a new parking lot, and get out, walk down, and they'll have a restroom facility available. So I think that's a great comment. Item 24 is just kind of like a lump lump sum for electrical to bring that electrical service in. It probably should have went up in the top, but these are kind of like these lump sum items where I'm kind of estimating on how much that will take. And as you recall, during the streetscape project, Civil West has an electrical engineer, and so that's kind of their ballpark of what they think that service install would be. And then item 25, that should have probably been removed when I was doing this cost estimate, so I apologize for that. And so that is an additional $15,000 that can go into this mural. So I made a note to myself that this cost estimate does not estimate the cost of the mural or the preparation of of the wall. That's just kind of an unknown for us, and until we get an artist on board and we kind of start talking through that, we really don't know what that's going to entail and what the cost of that will be.
Just to let you all know, on the mural, you kind of see the old bank building, that taller building. That concept of that mural, so you look through the arch, and when you look through the arch, you're seeing the original arch of the original bank building. And so I did talk to Simon, who did our Coquille mural, and the mural at the library, and he's like, yeah, no problem. That's a fun project. We can do that. And and then the Coquille Valley Museum, that's just a blank slate over there, so that was just a suggested, that whole area can be utilized to tell the story of Coquille. I just thought it was cool to consider adding a nod to the original building, that it's right there, people are looking at it.
And this is a historic photo that's pretty iconic. I mean, you can see this photo kind of as you have, many businesses have this photo of that building, the bank building throughout town, with that car. Yeah. So that's pretty neat. And then when we were first developing these projects, I did talk to the museum folks at that time. And at that time, they loved the idea of doing a mural on their building, but they wanted us to be wary that they may be changing their logo or whatever. So just working with the museum on what that mural concept could be would also be beneficial.
That design was just a placeholder.
Yes.
So if they're fine with it because they've got a sign, then maybe it's a different image that conveys a story of Coquille. And so, and just to remind everybody, I think, Forrest, we don't have to remember off the top of our heads, I think it was right around $10,000 for that Coquille mural. So that just gives you an idea of the cost. Certainly that bank building isn't as big, but it's close to that size. So that just gives you an idea of the costs.
Is there any other questions that you might?
Having been on the council way back when, why did we table this back a year ago?
Well, I can tell you one good reason is we had a mistake in our finances, our budgeting. That was one of them, right? I mean, the reason, tell us.
That wasn't really, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Correct me, member, that's all right.
No, actually, it was because the URA board had selected to do the First Street project.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. And then right on the heels of that, so we knew it's hard to convey to people that the URA funds are separate and separate funds from the general fund. But yeah, you're right. We were heavy into the streetscape First Street, yeah.
Yeah. Because originally we talked about maybe doing Birch, and then the URA board's like, let's do First. That was, Adams. Anyway, so that was kind of the thing. And then, yeah, there was certainly notionally that there was a little, little hesitancy about URA funds being separate.
Yeah, so Member Frazier, what we did was, at the time, they elected to go with the Adams Streetscape project, and we designed that to 100%, went out for bid, received bids, and the bids were extremely high and did not fit within the budget. And so the URA elected to table that, and then we came back and did the striping project for Central and instead. And that's the Central Striping project is in preparation of what the future build out of Central Boulevard will eventually look like. So that's to get everybody used to what Central will eventually be when the streetscape is complete for Central.
And besides being on some of these meetings, we've talked about this because we've gotten this far already. I had at least 2 public gatherings, one at the site, one at Frazier's had all these drawings and just invited, a lot of people came through, actually a lot of people came through. Great response from the community. Different opinions on what to put in there aesthetically and things, and that's normal. But as far as the idea and the concept, definitely very popular. You know, I think I'd just say it, I mean, there's always okay, but what do we do about, people who are going to camp there and things? We can address some of those things. I think to the bathroom idea, some of those conversations were already had earlier today with Mr. Denny, like, what do you do about this? It's a bathroom that's always got to be serviced. One of the ideas that was presented, and you said it, so I'm thinking, oh no, because I'm all about first impressions and how do we invite people into our city so that they engage with our city and our businesses. So a closed restroom during the day is probably not a good idea. But I appreciate Director Denning's, though, because if it becomes a problem, one idea that was proffered was, well, then you open the restroom facilities for the events. And so then, because what you don't want to do is have we can't not do bathrooms because you don't want to have a large event and then flood our local businesses with, can I come in and use your bathroom? I mean, we definitely don't want to do that. But Mark, anything you want to add to that?
I do, thanks. As Employee of the Month, I have and I have an obligation to let you guys know, I haven't worked with HEE on this, and these haven't come through me. I'm kind of seeing it as you guys are, and I think that some of the numbers are optimistic on like the bathroom, for example. Like we were, I think, $7,500 each for the plumbers, and that was with us running the water and sewer laterals and services to it. So it's a little more complicated than you think, the subgrade prep under those and the testing. I see you did allow for some testing in here. I did, on the estimate too, I did have some questions about the wall. I saw the same price for a 18-inch and a 48-inch wall, and so I just kind of, maybe double check these and make sure. But I think, I realize this is a Class 10 estimate. I'd put it more at a Class 20. I think that expect to see probably some higher numbers when they come back and refine these. But design-wise, we can have the bathroom discussion, all you want, and I see the logic behind it. But just letting you guys know, it is a significant burden. The 100-acre bathroom, not. It is fine. There's no problem with it. This one on the highway, even with the time locks at night, it is constant. And you guys can see, I mean, we're at the point where I'm talking about completely refurbishing that. I may have some free summer help coming in, talking about painting it and doing those things, because that's the only way. You can't, keep up with it. This one might not be as bad as that, who knows, but we can decide that operationally, but, I can see the logic of wanting to have a nice structure there, particularly for events, and not have to bring in blue rooms, that are ADA accessible and fit them in there and everything. But
they could be gray.
The one thing I haven't seen from a design engineering wise is a grading plan and what happens with the drainage, and I'm just kind of curious. I love the the hardscaping and the AstroTurf, but is there an under drain system there?
In the synthetic turf there is.
Oh, and so that will come out?
We'll probably have it come through the face of the curb.
Either to, or I forget if we have any storm lines in there, but at least to the curb and out. Okay, yeah, so that was my only question on that, so.
And just to remind everyone, this was brought to our attention. We have not touched this project since this time last year. So we, as a design team, need to refresh ourselves and kind of look at this and come back with these type of critiques and then present it again to you once we kind of have a finalized set of plans.
And I think my input too on the bathroom too is it's a significant structure, but the options are really endless, even amongst a single supplier. They have a lot of different looks, a lot of options, and I really think that that's something that should come back to you guys. And they have presentation materials, whether we go with CXT again or a different manufacturer, but you guys can flip through those, look at styles, colors, and a size that'll work.
And it's also an option where if that's something that we need to table in this project, we could always, rough in everything and bring everything up to a rough in and cap that off. And so that if that restroom structure you do want to do that, then eventually you can set it in on-site. It can be phased, is what I'm saying.
Another question, and I don't know this answer, certainly Stephanie, you would know. What phase are we at? Like, is it kind of like grant-ready type of documents we're at? Or we got to go to that next step? Do we try to go get a grant, or do we start the project and try to get a grant, match grant? I mean, what?
I think you refine the cost estimate here, and my advice, especially if you're going after grants, would be to blow this thing up. Go ahead and bump that number up. And, I'm sure that there's been, inflationary, action since they last looked at these, like the restroom. I don't know if you could get one for $155,000 now. I would be surprised, because that's what I was looking at a couple of years ago, and nothing is what it was a couple of years ago. So, I think that within a month, I think they could get it, grant ready. If we're talking about, like, I know Haley mentioned the LGGP grant, window opening up, that could be a good candidate here, right?
Yeah, the grant that Mark just referenced that helped us pay for 100 Acre Wood, the Sturdivant Park, and Sanford Heights Park improvements just opened, and the applications aren't due until June 5th, which means this is, like you said, grant ready. So just like what Mark said, if we did those things, then we could apply for that funding too. And the max is $750,000.
In your opinion, does this type of park, because this is not a kid's park, and this is certainly an outdoor recreation type park, does this fit the criteria of what they would look at?
Yes.
They're all also, like, Travel Oregon, it may be an opportunity because of its location and its proximity to the highway, that Travel Oregon may be a Travel Oregon grant.
And how much did you say the grant was up to?
$750,000.
And is that anything with matching, or is that?
Only requires a 20% match. That's the minimum match, which is what we did at the playground out there.
I think the limiting
It's up to $1 million?
Well, I think the limiting factor for us with the granting committee might be our success in the past. I don't think it would be the park. I think it would be if it was a competitive cycle that they might look at us and go, you've had enough. Sure.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I don't know that that's written down anywhere. That's just my speculation.
Well, then, Mike, these guys rock, and we've done every one of their projects we funded super well, so.
We do have a really good relationship with state parks. Mark made that relationship, yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you could give more than the 20%. I think certainly if you guys are looking at something like that, even a 50%, grant on this, I think would look good for the URA, but why not go for it?
Yeah, anything.
Yeah, maybe the fair question is, for the members, is grant or not? Is this something we want to commit to? I think it makes sense to try to go, just hearing from staff, to try to get a grant, for sure.
Well, so at this point, you're not committing to anything other than engaging GE, which are already on this project. We have an agreement with them, and so fine tuning and all that stuff. So I think it'd be really nice if they could come back. So we have till June for that grant, right? If they can come back either, at the next meeting or the one after, and present to the URA board, like, here's updated costs, here's what we're talking about, all those things, and then you can all bless it. It's like, okay, do we want to then apply for grants, or do we want to put it out for bid? That's a decision the board can make, right, at that time. So, I think it's just up to you to tell us if you want staff to go ahead and engage with our consultants.
It makes sense to, like you said, blow that thing up, include everything, at all the accessories, and then the murals, every detail, and then be able to, if we qualify for the grant, since it's not necessarily like a match or you have to go under it. We can always take stuff off the top and still meet that at least 20%, and we're good there, so.
And I think that HG's worked with the URA and has an idea of what you want to see in here. So I think they could refresh themselves on the project, look at this and say, okay, let's gold plate this and put together this project. So, I mean, don't be shocked if they come back and you get a much bigger number here, but then, at that point, say, if you're going to go that approach and look for a grant, say, okay, yeah, we're approving to go after a grant for this, and whatever your match amount is going to be, if we decide that's just going to be 20% of it, if we want to tell them we're going to show 35, and then at that time, when you apply for the grant, that's what you're committing to, just a percentage of that big number. But yeah, you don't want to be caught short on that because that's it. Once you go there, so then any overages over that, they're not eligible for your grant. That's definitely not the way these work. Some grants work like that, not these ones that we're talking about for state parks. That's it.
Does the difference in the percentage that we match change the likelihood of getting the grant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Readiness to proceed is a big function. I'm looking at this grant manual now, and we'll need to go through it. The big criteria is what's called the SCORP, which is like the statewide survey that was done in Oregon asking people what they wanted for parks, right? And so those responses are what forms the basis for their decision-making. And so we're going to have to get familiar with how this park weighs into that SCORP decision-making, because it's different than the kids' parks we've done in the past or the trail. But my recollection of the SCORP stuff is that it's very passive recreation based. I know one is more restrooms. I know a lot of them are about sitting in nature, more or less. And so I think that this might be good for it. And it's 1 million now. I just pulled open so it went up from 750,000, where max is 1 million.
So, and Patrick's, just so I understand correctly, let's say they come back with a number of $1 million and we say, we're going to put in 30%.
Yes, that would.
Then we're asking for a $700,000 grant, but it also increases our chances. We're ready to go and we're making that kind of commitment.
Well, and community involvement is a scoring thing. So all the work that we've done up until this, all of the community meetings that we've had, that would go into it, and then we would count on the Parks Committee to help with, doing some more of that. And that community involvement is also, we go out to, like she was saying, Travel Southern Oregon, Wild Rivers Coastal Alliance, or Abandoned Charitable Foundation, those other community groups, and we would ask them also to contribute.
Yeah.
And so then we would score higher, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do they have that information tiered on, the likeliness, if it's a 30, 50?
Yep, that's it. Most of these grants, it's a point process, and they have these different buckets that you can get points in, and you can more or less figure out how close you're going to get to having, 100% of your points or whatever, and then all you're wondering is how well other people did when you go into the application process. Because we don't know, what Tigard submitted, right? So we don't know how good theirs are going to be, but we can tell you, well, we hit all the criteria. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
Do we get points for marketing employee of the month?
No.
I could add it to my title if you like.
We'll put it on
That's
the
only for a
email
month, though.
signature.
Yeah.
First, you're going to have to develop a coupon book, late coming in and some bullet
Fun with this
meetings.
one now. It's going to be somebody else next month.
So I think,
One other question. So the turf, I have a little bit of lower maintenance, but there's a park that we have family in Hillsborough that we go visit, and there's really nice. We call it the Monkey Park. They have a synthetic grass turf, and I can't imagine they did not. They did not go cheap, and they get a lot of traffic. But it's been there for 3 years, and it shows a lot of wear.
yeah.
And it does get a lot of visitors, but yeah, if we could have grass, yeah, there's something to maintain, but it's also, you can, repair it. And, if the synthetic grass,
You can also repair it and patch it.
Okay.
It's kind of like, think of it as like carpet. And it doesn't necessarily come in a big roll anymore like carpet does because it needs to be maintained. But those are options that we can explore, and I think that's where I was headed with my comment, is that what I'm hearing in the consensus from you all is that maybe in your April URA meeting, I will come back with a revised cost estimate. I will come back with options for, maybe I'll work with Mr. Denny and we'll come up with 2 or 3 restroom buildings that fit the square footage and the requirements, and we'll look at those to share with you all. We'll do some comparison of like what natural grass versus synthetic grass would look like, that cost comparison and longevity of it. And then we'll work with Ms. Sheldon on, what the grant is actually looking for and what some other grants are looking for, so that we make sure that the notes on the plans and everything is what they're looking for, that we're checking all of those boxes. And then I would like to present that to you at your April URA meeting, and then we can make a decision from there.
Does it make sense to put like the highest in turf for application for the grant? And then roll it back, so like maximum everything as good as we can go, and then
Yes,
roll it
Mr.
back?
Denny and I are going to look at this, and we're going to max this out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
The one drawback, if you want to look at it that way, of going down, say, for example, we go after the LGGP grant, you don't even get an inkling of if you're probably going to get awarded until September, and then you don't get those contracts until December. So you're not starting work on this, really spending any money that's eligible under that grant for reimbursement until January 2027. That's the earliest you're going to be able to start, so it slows it down.
On a positive note, though, they're helping pay for it. And there's a potential that it's just such a small park that you could have it ready to go by next year's River Days, and that could be your grand opening. If you look at the timeline I proposed, you're several months into construction of it anyway. And so if the funding isn't available until the first of the year, then that lends itself to a pretty neat grand opening.
Construction season is, we don't have a deep freeze, it's year-round here, but for when the big storm is coming in, so it's...
Yeah, and maybe the only suggestion is, if there's a consensus and we wait for the grant, it just seems like it totally makes sense. Maybe we allocate some money and just start addressing the arch immediately. So preserving it, repairing it. I think that it makes me nervous. And so we could allocate 50,000 to that, and we're money ahead, because if there's a consensus we're going to do something and save the arch, then we could spend the money to save the arch.
And that isn't in the current cost estimate that I saw, so.
Correct, it is not.
Yeah, so that's something that, it can be a standalone project, just so that thing doesn't fall down while the tourists are getting their pictures taken.
do we get credit for that as part of the 30%, if we've already spent it at the time?
No.
But if we spend it after we submit,
Yes.
so anytime after June 5th.
Oh, that'd be easy, yeah.
Right, you put in the project design, and we submit, and then
Start ahead on it.
Yes, that would be counted as
what about
match.
match?
My experience with these is they're not looking at any of that money until they've inked the contract. Even once they've told you you're awarded, anything before that, unless you do some sort of agreement with them, which I don't think is real simple.
Right.
So you're best off just,
Count it as a loss, just go for it.
The arch is a small number compared to the whole scope of it.
Yeah.
It would be counted towards our community involvement, readiness to proceed, that sort of stuff, right? We would say that we've been working on it, we've allocated, we've done this and this and this and this.
Nice, okay.
And on that same note, maybe include the brick facade, the brick wall as well, because that needs some repair work and that needs to be looked at as well by a mason.
So, URA board, is that a go?
Yeah, I'm good. You guys good?
Okay.
Well, I'm excited to see you all again next month. It's been a while.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
All right, last up is good to the order. Is there anything else to be brought up?
Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah. Okay, well, hearing nothing, let's go ahead and move to adjourn the meeting at 8:25.